Welcome everyone to the late November professional development webinar. Today's topic is the I Believe in the Future of Ag campaign that the Nebraska FFA Foundation manages for the benefit of all ag education and FFA programs. And so with that, I'd like to introduce Stacy Agnew, the Executive Director of the Nebraska FFA Foundation, and Sarah Mullen, the Program Manager for the FFA Foundation, who will be guiding us through today's conversations. So please feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions at any time. Other than that, Stacy, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, everybody, for being on. What I thought we would go over is the purpose of I Believe, and then talk through the process of how the I Believe campaign works, and then share some best practices with everybody. First off, Sarah, if you could share the I Believe in the Future of Ag Advisors guide with everybody, that would be really helpful.
Yep, it's up.
Great. So this is the 5th year we've done this campaign. It is a capacity building campaign for local chapters as well as the State FFA Foundation. We meaning the Foundation Board, really believes this is an excellent way for local donors to support their local FFA chapter through the I Believe in the Future of Ag campaign. We also believe in connecting young people with industry through their ag education and FFA program. And so that's why a lot of our corporate partners really want to have an engagement at a local level, meaning in the classroom or in types of learning environments with FFA members. So, you know, being in fundraising, Sarah and I every day work with people who want to give and support and have a charitable intent. And we know that there are so many people out there that believe in ag education and support ag education. And can everybody hear? Can you guys hear me okay?
Loud and clear, Stacey. You're doing great.
Good.
Well, you were. We can't hear you now.
Oh, here. Now you can hear me. Sorry.
There you go.
So anyway, we just know that there's people that long-term can impact your program, and a lot of that has to go into stewarding these people and knowing and educating them on ways that they can potentially maybe make long-term gifts to your FFA program, even long after you've come and gone and we've all come and gone. We really believe that I Believe is a great springboard to start establishing those long-term relationships. So it's not about purchasing things, it's more about creating long-term sustainability with your ag education programs through I Believe. And we really think this last 5 years we've been able to do that. Again, looking on that sheet that Sarah is showing you, sustainability we're talking about engaging your chapter and community programs. And, you know, because we're the public charity for FFA, that there's obviously a tax deductible donation. That's why we do I Believe the way we do. When they select your chapter as a recipient, they get a tax deductible donation. That's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm going to let Sarah talk through the process a little bit.
Okay. Just to go into a little bit more detail of what Stacy mentioned, we do have 22 corporate partners this year, and they've contributed $270,000 towards the campaign. Now, some of that campaign goes towards marketing and the pieces that you all get in the mail to utilize for local fundraising, and some other support pieces that we have to have in place to actually manage the program and all the funds that come in. And then there's the second piece of the program, that's the local fundraising portion. That is what you're doing right now at the local level. So I know you all should have received some packets from us, probably back in September, with your letter advisor guide, which I'm showing on the screen here, and donation cards, which is the most important part. So I just stress that make sure that you're having all of your donors fill out those donation cards. Obviously, you send them all to us. All the checks have to be written out to the Nebraska FFA Foundation, and we record them in our system. So that system does a great job of tracking which chapter gets which donations, and it makes it easiest for us to kick out a report that details who donated to you, how much, when they donated, all of that those details. And then we provide all those funds back to you. So you'll get 100% of everything donated to your chapter. And then this year, our board voted for $35,000 in matching funds. Now, if you did the program last year, it was only $24,000. So they really want to see an increase in the number of chapters participating. And that's why 5,000 of that 35 is designated just for chapters that will be receiving a donation for the first time as part of the campaign. So I sent that list out in an email, maybe within the last month. But if you're not sure, you can always ask me, and I can look it up. I don't know off the top of my head right now. So are there any questions on the actual campaign or the process of raising funds and how the logistics works behind the scenes?
Sarah, I know that Thedford, Bethany Blackburn's on the call, and so Thedford would be a first-time participant, and as they are central with Rachel. Vicki, do you know if you've participated in the past? Maywood has. I think she said we don't. She doesn't think that they have. So, and Chris, are you an I believer already, or is this your first time believing?
No, I've believed for about 3 years.
Okay. Very good. Well, it's good to have multiple people of multiple spectrums across on the call today too. So feel free to, Chris, share your expertise, and for those of you who haven't done it, ask the question that you may not feel comfortable asking because you're not sure if you should know the answer or not, because the answer is no if you don't already know it. So please ask.
Right. So if you're starting out, I would just say one of the main things to keep in mind, like I already mentioned, is making sure that you're filling out those donation cards, and making sure a lot of chapters, I always suggest writing the name of your chapter on top of all the donation cards right when you get them, because a lot of times it's hard for me to track down if someone sends me a donation card and they don't fill out the top that says the chapter. They don't always fill out their phone or email address on here. So I may have to either write them a letter to find out which chapter they wanted their money to go to. And then if they don't respond, it goes to all chapters. So that's one suggestion that I have to start off if you're gonna participate. But make sure the checks match the donation cards, and you should be all set. So those are just kind of smaller details in the processes, and we can talk through some best practices. And I know Chris actually has some good examples she could share for best practices of what they've done, and in coordination with Midwest Farmers, who was a sponsor last year. So.
Do you want me to share?
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and share what you've done there, Chris?
Okay. We've done it a couple different ways. This has been the second year we've been doing what we call our Feeding Our Farmers program, where we take little snack bags down to the Midwest Farmers Co-op, and at 4 different locations. So we've got several towns that are within our district that have Midwest Farmers locations in them. So we take the snack bags down there for the farmers who are waiting in line to dump their grain. So it's just kind of a nice thank you. It's got a little thank you card inside the bag. And there's also an I Believe card inside the bag. And we, just as Sarah recommended, as soon as we get that pile of 300, we write Waverly FFA on each and every one of them. So if that farmer gets that I Believe card in their bag, they know that their donation will go directly to Waverly FFA. Last year, Sarah, I don't know how many came in from that program for us. I don't think it was a huge number. I'm thinking like just a couple. But hopefully, with this year being our second year, we'll draw a few more. And if this becomes an ongoing thing, then we'll continue to draw. So that's one way that we take advantage of this. Another way that we take advantage of this, we have a sponsor for our t-shirts every year. And we also have just random sponsors around the community that just hand us a check, for $200 or whatever. And so I've encouraged those donations to go through the I Believe program. So we'll pay for our t-shirt bill up front, but then we'll have that sponsor send his donation into the I Believe program. So it's a donation to us, but by sending it through I Believe, that kind of helps a broader scope of people. So that's kind of a couple different things that we've done. With fruit sales, we always offer, if they say, well, I don't need fruit, if they just want to make a donation, we've offered an I Believe donation instead of purchasing fruit. I don't think anybody's taken us up on that one, though. That's about all we do.
Okay. Great. Thanks for sharing, Chris. Those are all great examples.
What I want to know is, how do chapters get thousands and thousands of dollars donated, I believe? How does that work?
I think it depends on the chapter. But a lot of times, I think you brought up a good point in saying that I don't think you got a whole lot of donations off of your Feed the Farmer program the first year. But you can see that, and I've got some samples here of what Southwest is doing. And is it Les? I think that's there. Yeah, Les Rogenkamp, that's there. And he sent out the same letter or similar letter for the past several years. And it's been pretty successful. And it's interesting to see, because I start to recognize names, that it's some of those same donors that are, that are donating each year.
So he just sends out a request letter.
Yep. And I've got some samples. I'm trying to figure out here we go. They're on my. So a lot of times when I send out emails, I always reference the chapter resource page on our website, and I send out that link. So if you haven't looked at it, there are, this is what it looks like. And it's got a bunch of other materials there. Kind of scrolling fast here, but you'll see all of the materials you got in your packets are there, but there's also a few different sample letters. And there's two here from Southwest. One of them I think is more of a proposal for businesses, and one of them is more for individuals. There's one from Freeman, and some of these are a couple years old, I think. But a lot of it, I think, is having conversations in your community about what's going on and continuing to have those conversations year after year. It's where a lot of chapters get some traction. And as much as we don't promote doing this during your labor auctions and fruit sales, I assume that's going on too. I mean, some of that is out of our control. But these are some of the ways that we prefer to do it. We did have several grain donations this year. So while you're talking about working with the local co-ops and doing your Feed a Farmer or something similar, that's a good opportunity to include information about gifting grain while they're right there at the elevator. And in the past, we used to have a 15% admin fee for that, and we took it off this year. So you get all the money from the grain that's sold, and it's really easy to do. I mean, all they have to do is call Stacy or I, and we can set up the account. Some of the co-ops we already have accounts with.
I didn't realize that 15% was off. That's great, Sarah. One other thing I know, I'm thinking of Southern Valley with John Lechtenberg. A couple years ago, didn't they have like a $10,000 donation from somebody? And probably the same thing with Freeman is that they built a vision for what they wanted to use the money for and made big asks from people. And both of their visions were related around a greenhouse. And so it wasn't just give us money because we could use it for lots of different things. It was give us some money so we can build this substantial thing that's going to enhance the ag education program. I think that might be one of the stronger ways to do it, is to let people know what it's doing, and if what it's doing to help out is more than just general support, something they can get behind or feel proud to be attached to it, whether it be a project or what, that might be something worth considering too.
Yeah, you'll find that donors are more likely to jump on board if there's a tangible result at the end of the fundraising cycle, so that you can see that they're building a building. Or the story that we're using a lot this year, and you'll see when you get our annual report, is the McCool Junction animal lab that they're doing there, and that was one donor that donated $15,000, and it was all, having a good relationship with the ag teacher and not being afraid to ask for things. And there's another success story of one donor that donated, it was a little over $10,000 for the Hayes Center FFA chapter, when he found out that none of them were able to afford to go to National FFA Convention last year. And he wanted to make sure that that was something that the FFA members attended. And so that was one of those big donors as well. So we've seen an increase in those types of donors. I think a lot of it is just sharing your story of what you're doing in your FFA chapter. And yeah, like Matt said, what's your vision for what's next?
I think I'm one of those teachers that I work on a really shoestring budget. Like, I'm just a cheap teacher, right? And so one of the things that I've learned in this position and working alongside Stacy and Sarah is that it's okay to ask people for big amounts and for big gifts. And that's, you can still be cheap on the spending side of things, but don't be bashful about asking for a big amount of support from people, because I think that they will step up when asked more often than you would realize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Matt's right. And it's fun to see, because I went out and visited when I did the story on the annual report for the McCool Junction story, and it's one gift that makes a difference, and all of a sudden the whole community is involved in donating. And it wasn't all through I Believe. A lot of those were animals and other things, but a lot of it was. So it's interesting to see how your community comes together after a project like that. And I also add that I know got some new chapters here, so don't be afraid to ask for something that's not a building facility or something like that you may need help with lab equipment. There are other small things that I think you can craft into a letter or an ask for your local programs as well that aren't so big and physical at this time.
I would just couple that though too with, what better time to ask for a big amount of anything than your first year as a chapter. Support the brand new Ag Education FFA program at Ontario Central or wherever. And I know Bridgeport, they made some big asks of people, not through the I Believe campaign, but their labor auction. And they ended up with $43,000 they walked away with after that night. And it's because they were bold enough to say, this is our vision for the program. We want to make a big investment. And so they bought a lot of new equipment. And I think they did put some of that toward the expansion of a classroom as well.
Mm-hmm. So Sarah, you recommended not doing it with a labor auction then?
I'm not saying you can't do it. It makes it a lot easier if you don't, I think. But I know a lot of people do, just to take advantage of matching funds and other perks of the program, the tax deductible donations. But to avoid confusion, sometimes it's easier not to, because they write their checks out to us. So I get a lot of emails that will tell me, oh, they wrote the check out to my chapter and they weren't supposed to. It was for the labor auction. Or they got a receipt and now they're confused, because our program automatically sends out receipts. So if you are, just make if you decide to do that way, then just make sure it's clear of the program and what they'll get out of it. They'll get recognized in our annual report, and they'll get some mailings from us that are our I Believe booklet where they're recognized as a donor there.
Like the key to that is just really clear communication to people who choose to do that. I know some chapters, they'll give people a choice at the labor auction. You want to write the money directly to the chapter, or do you want to help us out by going through the Nebraska FFA Foundation so we can receive matching funds and da-da-da-da-da. And if so, then the check needs to be made out to that, and the donor card needs to be filled out by the individual. Just a few things that you want to keep in mind.
Yeah, this is Stacy. I would just agree with everything that Sarah and Matt said. Being very clear before you would start an event like that and letting them know what their options are. I also think an excellent place to do an ask that would be very similar to where you have the same audience at a labor auction would be your annual banquet, because you have everyone there. They've just seen their kids get all these awards. Their hearts are melting. They love FFA. I mean, that's what they say, we've had a really successful year, or this is where our gaps are. It's always important to talk about gaps and the purposes of why you need additional funds. People give when they know there's a need. And so I like using the word gap, because if you can talk about 2, 3, 4 gaps in your program where you need some help with, people are they're more likely to give. And it's that story that Sarah talked about. But I think the banquets are also a really great place. Again, the bigger dollars from individual donors have just come based off of relationships. So there's really no magic trick to raising a lot of money other than asking for it. People can always tell you no, but I think you just got to ask. And tell them why. I'm losing my voice, so I'm going to jump off now, okay?
Thanks, Stacy. One other thing, too, I'm thinking of North Bend. I was at a student-teacher visit there a couple years ago, and it was in the spring, and they were putting in the paper a thank you piece to everyone who donated to them for the I Believe in the Future of Ag campaign. And so people don't donate because of those things, but it makes people who did donate feel really well, and it also brings visibility to the program for the next cycle when students start asking again. And so that's just another thing that I've noticed out and about in terms of things that have been successful.
Right.
Sarah, can you talk about your personalized website?
Oh, yeah.
That?
Yeah, I forgot to open one up here. Let me see if I can find one. So I've offered this year to create online websites for chapters as they are asked for. It does take a little bit of time, so I haven't done all 170 of them. But this makes it really easy that if you're having an event, for example, I think this is probably it's most utilized at events so far. But you can have your donors go online, just submit their credit card information, and just make the donation right there. It's really easy. It goes right to our system, so our accountant enters all the information, and there's no way to mess it up from there, and you don't have to worry about handling the money. So I'm gonna pull one of those up. I did one for Waverly.
Yeah, we still see your Word documents, Sarah.
Okay, I'm working on it. When I get this up, then we'll get it.
No problem.
Sarah, if you've got ours up, is there any way for you to tell if it's been used? I've just been curious. I don't know if people are using it or not.
I would need to look into that and get back to you, Chris.
Okay. So I think we set it up 6 months ago or so, maybe in the
Right.
summer.
Yeah, so this is what it looks like. The top is the same as our website, and it's got donate to Waverly FFA, and it can be customized. So if you've got other pictures you want up here instead of Brennan, that's a couple years old, we can put a different picture up there. We can also put text here. So if you know you're going to be raising money for a certain project, I can include that information here. I just need you to provide that to me. And then it gives a little bit of details on the campaign. And then it's just like online shopping or donating to us any other way, where they fill out their first name, last name, address, etc. And then the donation information. So you can see they only have one choice on this website, and that's to donate to Waverly FFA. And then they enter their card information and submit, and that's it. So it's really nice because there's only one option, and that's to donate to your chapter when you're there. They can't mess it up. It also, I know at the top it says this long email, this long address. This is not. They can type in neffafoundation.org/I-believe/Waverly FFA, and that's what gets them to this page. So it redirects to this long address after they type that.
Say what I'm wondering here, Sarah, is, okay, so if I am a chapter and it is the banquet or it is labor auction night or whatever, this would be a way for people to be able to pay with their credit card rather than doing a check. And that would be actually a nice option in my mind for just from a convenience standpoint for the people who are actually just coming to those things.
Right, it is.
You could actually set up a station right there, and they can, that could be like a checkout station or something.
Yep, exactly. And if you want some reports or anything of, if it is an event like a labor auction or something, I can always run the report and tell you who actually paid that day, so you can keep track in your records too. So that's an option. Yeah, or you can include the website address in your letters or your emails or your social media or other things like that. So there's some other avenues. I know if you're sharing it on your Twitter, sharing about I Believe, you probably want some sort of link or somewhere to send them to so they could just go right there and donate. So this is a hidden page. So if you go to our website, you can't see all these chapter pages. But if you go to our donation page, you can donate to I Believe for a specific chapter.
Because they're fine. I linked this to our AET page. We've got a donate tab on our AET FFA page.
Okay, great.
Like I said, I don't know if anybody's using it.
Yeah, I'll have to look, Chris.
Okay, and we did set up a little station. I don't remember when we put this into effect. We did set up a little station somewhere recently. I don't know if it was banquet last year.
No, get
But I remember setting up a computer station, like Matt was saying, but nobody visited that station. But I was handed checks. Here, have a little donation.
Yeah.
I found ironic. Because we talked about the I Believe program at banquet.
If nothing else, I think when you see someone set up like that, it's a good reminder for people to give, even if they don't do it online. They hand you a check.
Right.
Good. Yeah, and I want to go back to what Matt was saying about recognizing your donors. Another option, I know, I think I may have resent Chris some of her names, but once you do this 1 year, keep the list of names that I send you, because at the end of the program, I'll send you all the people that donated to your chapter and their contact information so that you can talk to them again the next year. So make sure that you're following up with them and inviting them to your banquet. I know that Freeman invites their donors down there and actually recognizes them, hands them a little certificate that says, thanks for donating. And then they'll get a letter the next year again for, this is our new project, this is what we're raising funds for this time, and asking them to donate again. So they've seen great success, and I think Southwest does the same thing, that other one that I've got, the sample I've got on the website. So, and if you need help with any of this, writing letters, talking points at your labor auction, or convincing your school administration that this is a good thing to do, just reach out to us. We're more than happy to help, and I've got some templates, things I've done for other chapters that I can always repurpose and help you tailor for your program.
Sarah, can you just talk through the timeline? So currently everyone has the kits, so they could have been raising money, or they could start today if they wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
By when does fundraising need to end? When are checks submitted, or when do they get the money back? That type of thing.
Sure. Yep. Good point, Matt. The deadline this year is February 29th, so it's the last day of February. And so I'll also note, when I mentioned that deadline, I know FFA week is a little bit later this year, and some of our chapters do fundraising during FFA week, which is the week before the deadline. So I need to have all of the donations and donation cards in our offices on the 29th. So I'm hoping that if you're doing something during FFA week, you can actually deliver it to us at that time. And then we take the next month to do all the processing and depositing and all the figuring, and then the checks will be cut in April. And the top three chapters more than three chapters, but top three chapters do get a banner and are recognized on stage at Pinnacle Bank Arena. And then those that raise over $1,000 also go on stage and get certificates during state convention. But really, I'll also add that you can fundraise all year round. So if you do it at your banquet, that's fine. Raise your money then. We'll keep track of it. And if you need your money before April, let us know, because there's been a few cases that people have asked us for money beforehand, and we can definitely accommodate that. Just have to give us about a month turnaround time to run our reports and get it through our accountants to cut the checks. So don't let that deter you if you need the money now. Are there any other questions about the deadlines? I'll also throw out there that if anyone would like to share what they're raising funds for this year, I've got an intern that has been tasked with writing a story for our blog about a local chapter and their fundraising for I Believe. So you can let me know and I'll gladly help you promote it.
I think we're raising funds for a community garden.
All right. Rachel.
And then just general, since we're new, just some general pay your contest fees and stuff like that. So, but we're really pushing the community garden is what their council's doing.
Good. You should talk to Freeman, because they did a community garden too, and I will make him share his fundraising letter with you if you want.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. I can email Tony too.
Okay.
This is Stacy. I think this was all spot on. I'm glad we're recording this. But just everything that Matt and Sarah both commented on. And I would just say there's Rachel and both of you are new chapters. This is a great opportunity just to start a habit with people in the community of giving to your chapter through I Believe. I just think it's I think a more efficient way of a donor supporting than maybe purchasing items from your chapter. So it's always nice to have a new chapter and start those new traditions. But I have to go because I have to run a child into dance. So I will be saying goodbye to all of you. Goodbye.
Thanks, Stacy.
Bye.
Sarah, I just have one last question. For the people who haven't participated before, what was the approximate percentage of matching funds that came back?
I should have been more prepared for that question. I think it was around almost 10%.
I was thinking of the 10 or 11% range. I couldn't remember exactly either.
Yeah, and it's varied every year. It's some years it's been 12. I think it was a little bit less this last year because we had more chapters and we raised a lot more money.
That's one of the reasons why the foundation board put another $10,000 into it, I think, or $11,000, whatever it was. So.
Yeah, so it's a win-win either way, and I think that's the important thing to convey to your community, is that you're getting more for their dollar because of the program.
And really, some people might wonder, well, what's the benefit to the Nebraska FFA Foundation by doing this? Because you're getting all your money back, and plus some of the foundation's money that they've raised. And Sarah, how would you answer that question?
Part of our mission is to support local FFA chapters. And so it's a way for us to fulfill our FFA, the mission of the Nebraska FFA Foundation. We do make a little bit of money off of it, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's substantial enough to keep us afloat. Mm-hmm. Is that a decent answer? As a board member, Matt, how would you answer that?
Well, I would say the same. It's why the foundation exists, and the money that we do make off of it, or that the foundation does make off of it, is from the corporate sponsorship side. And one of the reasons the corporate sponsors are motivated is because you're helping to connect them. Their logo gets in front of all these people across the state, and so on the donation cards and other things that you use, the materials that Sarah provides, and so that's a benefit for the sponsors. And so it's mutually beneficial in terms of the local money raised, and then also the state puts in money from the corporate side, and then also has some money left over after all the operational costs too. But I think, Sarah, you hit on the head. It's really why the foundation exists, is to help at the local level, and state level programs too is where the rest of the money goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have heard it's interesting what you hear when people start talking about the program. A lot of people have said, well, it keeps us afloat in the summer when we don't have programs going on, or and it gives us names to fundraise with. We don't use your names to fundraise. They only get our newsletter, our I Believe recognition booklet, and our annual report, unless they've donated to other things through the foundation, unless they're connected in other ways. So that's definitely not the purpose of it, for us to collect your community members' names and addresses. So just be assured that we're not trying to take advantage of your donors, because we feel it's important enough of a program that we want them to support you.
Well said.
This is Stacy. I'm back. I'll just add that, I think a donor is going to give to where their affinity is. And so if they've already given locally, that's where their affinity is. And I think our job is to find those and convince and motivate those donors to make larger gifts each time back to where their affinity is, which is hopefully that local program. So, again, I think it's really talking about local individual donors. We try to focus on the foundation side, on the big corporate side of it. So there's lots of people out there willing to support and step up, and if I'll say, if you've got somebody that you think you want to ask for $5,000 or $10,000, and you maybe aren't confident with doing that, or you need some help, let Sarah or I know, because we are more than willing to help coach you through that, or your students through that, or even go on calls with potential donors to have them give through I Believe. We may be doing a possible event down in Pawnee City coming up through our individual giving committee, where we'll actually give donors an option to give to the Pawnee City FFA chapter through I Believe. So we're happy to partner with you as much as possible to help fundraising be a successful experience for your program.
Thanks, Stacy. Well, are there any other questions from the group? If not, Stacy or Sarah, anything else to add?
The only thing that I didn't mention that I mention every other time I talk about I Believe is that if you need more materials, let me know. So I've got a shelf full of donation cards over here that I would love to get rid of before the end of the campaign. So I'll mail out as many as you need. Just send me an email. Same with the posters, or I'm limited on some countersigns, but I have extras. Feel free to let us know whatever materials you need. And thank you. You guys are doing great so far. You've raised almost $150,000 at the local level thus far.
Yep, this is Stacy. Just thank you for participating. We'd love to see more and more chapters engage and be part of this. And always know that Sarah and I are here to help and support. And so please feel free to reach out to us at any time. We're happy to bounce ideas off the wall with y'all. Thanks.
All right, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining, and this will be archived and on the web soon. Bye.